I am on day 2 of my bike trip around the Netherlands, and after a short ride on the first day from Amsterdam, I made it to Almere, a city that is to some the ugliest in the country. Imagine someone hit reset on the idea of a city, then built it from scratch on land reclaimed from the sea. That's Almere. Just 25 minutes from Amsterdam, it is one of the youngest cities in the Netherlands. Born in the late 1970s, designed for modern life on a flat, blank canvas. No medieval streets, no ancient history, just bold urban planning, clean lines, a whole lot of bike paths, and a lot of bland buildings make up what some consider to be the ugliest city in the Netherlands. Naturally, the infamous reputation convinced me to visit because I had to see for myself if it does indeed live up to it. Right up front, I have to say, I was surprised by how much I liked this place. But before we explore Almere of today, we should see its history. While it isn't ancient, it's worth exploring because I believe it gives us an insight on the city's reputation. After the Second World War, the Dutch government was looking for ways to relieve overcrowding in its major cities. With brand new land reclaimed from the sea, the area that would become the province of Flevoland was the perfect place to start. One of the most ambitious projects was a new town planned in Zuidelijk Flevoland. Early sketches referred to it as Zuidweststad or Southwest City, but by the late 1970s, the name had changed to Almere, inspired by the medieval name for the Zuiderzee, Lake Almere. It's hard to believe, but the very first house in Almere wasn't built until 1976, less than 50 years ago. Since then, Almere has grown rapidly. Over the decades, 6 distinct neighborhoods have been developed, each with its own character, and together they make up the Almere we know today. What was once seabed is now one of the fastest growing urban areas in the Netherlands, with an expectation to grow by 50% in the next 25 years. But for a city that is an integral part of the country's growth strategy, it has picked up a reputation of being ugly, boring, and void of culture. And the best way to illustrate how it got there is simple. Ask the Dutch why. So here are a select few comments that I think paint the picture pretty succinctly. Almere hasn't got an old soul like older cities. It's a large, modern suburb for Amsterdam. Because it's an artificially built and designed town without any cultural history, making it ugly. Just see it on a map and you see how everything is designed on the drawing board. The buildings are ugly, so is the city center. Also, poor people being associated with Tokies out of Amsterdam who couldn't afford housing there moved to Almere in the 90s. But I kept seeing the same things over and over. It's new, has no soul, the buildings are ugly, and some associate it with lower class folks. But what did I see? First of all, let me get the bad news out of the way. I did immediately find it ugly. It is quite sprawling, and I was not only catcalled on my way to Almerestad, I was told by the concierge at the hotel that it was probably a bad idea to lock my bike to a well-lit bike rack in the city square. Not a great start. Now, is it the ugliest city in the Netherlands? I can't answer that. I don't know if anyone really can, but is it ugly? Absolutely, in places. Riding around reminds me of Houten, or many of the new neighborhoods surrounding the older cities. But instead of a few outlying neighborhoods, much of the city lacks character. It's like an unseasoned frikandel, basically just a plain meat sausage. It has nutrients, it'll sustain you, but it's missing some spice. It also has a large footprint for its population. For example, it is larger than The Hague, but has a population density that is about a fourth. But when we compare that to a similarly populous Canadian city like Regina, yeah, I'd take Almere. And not just for a simple stat, because holy crap, Busbaans, train stations, walkable city centers with amenities close by, bike paths galore, beautiful parks, and it's even friendly to drivers. I have to say, I was genuinely surprised by this city. What I said about Rotterdam in the past also applies to Almere. Transplant this city to North America, and yet again, you have a top urbanist city with no competition even in the same lane. It makes me think of Forgetting Sarah Marshall when Jonah Hill comes up and asks Russell Brand how his vegetable medley is, and he says, "It's mundane." And Jonah Hill responds with, "It is mundane. It's great. I know." That's how I feel. But before I get ahead of myself, let's talk about a couple of those points. The first one, Busbaans, or bus streets. These are an integral part of Almere's transit system, and they are brilliant. It's simply bus rapid transit lanes without lanes for anything else. The crossings give the bus signal priority, and since they only come around every few minutes, it's really not a problem for cross traffic, which is of course often only for walking and wheeling. And I say this because everything is so well disentangled. It means car-friendly, not car-centric. You can easily take your car to other parts of the city, but within neighborhoods, it's discouraged like you'd expect from the best Dutch cities. I might even say Almere is people-centric, but it really just feels like a well-balanced city. And while we're here, let me pose a question to the Dutchies watching. Where is the car-centric hellhole? I have seen plenty of comments like this, and spoiler alert, I have found nothing that came close to that description along my entire trip. So if you know, please tell me. I loved the parks I visited. The sounds, the beautiful trees, and the waterside rest stops make for great places to go for a stroll or hang out. And even this, a bike path lined with cherry blossom trees, obviously not in bloom here, but an example of adding some unique character to neighborhoods. Like the cool houses nearby, it's not just filled with bricked boxes. Though I was surprised not to find anything that harkened back to the older styles, like what you see in Houten.
But there is a real freshness to it, and you really notice it, especially along some of the bike paths. Like this one I'm on here, brand spanking new, brand new. It's so smooth, it's really nice.
This is the Busbaan pad, dedicated cycling expressway running straight through the heart of the city. It's just one example of the exceptional infrastructure that forms a well-connected network, thoughtfully designed from the ground up.
So I've been riding around Almere for, I don't know, maybe 2.
Unfortunately, the wind ruined this audio, and I did get distracted by this guy on a bakfiets hitting this apex like Max Verstappen. But what I was going to say is that Almere is just a town with a name I don't know how to pronounce, but has everything you need and is a fantastic example of a livable city. Don't just take it from me. This comment from a local sums it up pretty good.
I used to live in old towns in the Netherlands, The Hague, Rotterdam, Utrecht. I had a good time. Then you fell in love, got kids, hated the idea of raising children where there's no space. We searched the countryside in the Randstad, all old houses, too expensive and high in energy consumption. Being disillusioned, we went for a coffee at our friends in Almere. Then my wife said, "What a nice architecture." I was surprised, because I didn't even think of Flevoland. One day, we received a newsletter with some nice houses, and we decided to buy it. That was 8 years ago. I was totally surprised about Almere. Everything was clean and well organized, and great nature too. Our neighborhood is totally new, with hundreds of kids the same age as my kid. My wife has a lot of social activities, and, well, they're both very happy, and when they are happy, I'm happy too.
It's a place for people to settle down, raise a family, and even grow old. While it still carries a bad reputation to many, I think it's kind of like Nickelback, and hear me out. It's something people love to hate, but you know if they went to the concert, they'd be having a good time with the rest of the crowd. The city's reputation's on the up, and I am a fan. And while I still wanted to explore more of the city, my final destination for the day, Utrecht, was asking me to get a move on. It's a city I visited last year, but still has some neat things I've yet to see. A direct route should be about 45 kilometers, but that's certainly never the case for me because there's always a good detour along the way. But before leaving Almere, I tried again for a Frikandel without success. So I went on with an empty stomach to retrace my tracks, where I was reminded that the detection loops don't always work, before crossing back over the Hollandic Bridge, leaving Almere and Flevoland behind me.
So I made it back to North Holland. That's the province in which Amsterdam resides. Came from Flevoland. And I'm going to be entering my third province of this trip, which is one I've already been to, Utrecht, which I'm not mad about, I'm not gonna lie. I'm really excited to go back to Utrecht because it might be my favorite city I've been to in the Netherlands, maybe. Rotterdam's up there. Anyway, about to hit something different up ahead. This is Naarden.
Naarden is a beautifully preserved fortified town in the Netherlands, known for its unique star-shaped layout. Surrounded by moats and green bastions, it's one of the best examples of a 17th century star fort in Europe. Rolling down the cobbled streets is a real trip with its time-worn facades and the stunning church at its center. It's a peaceful, picturesque place that is packed with history. That's a lot of P's. During the Second World War, it became well known to Allied pilots for its distinctive shape, which helped them find their way back to England. And going back to the 16th century, it was the site of a massacre during the 80 Years' War when Spanish troops slaughtered nearly the entire population of the Dutch town. After falsely agreeing to peaceful terms, the Spanish entered Naarden, assembled the townspeople in the church and guild hall, and set the buildings ablaze before sacking the rest of the city. Only about 60 of the town's 3,000 residents survived. This atrocity shocked the region and helped galvanize Dutch resistance in their fight for independence from Spanish rule. It's hard to imagine such violence happening in the quaint town of Naarden today, but this history is well preserved at the Vesting Museum, hosted within one of the bastions.
Now, I don't know why I wasn't expecting something really great. Maybe just because of the appearance from the outside, it just looks like a grass hill, but that was fantastic. Highly recommend. If you're in this area, check out Naarden and check out the Vesting Museum. Really good.
I could have stayed for several more hours, but as always, I had to keep moving.
So I'm passing through the town of Hilversum, not because it's a quaint town on the way to Utrecht, but because of this tunnel. This is the Alexia tunnel in Hilversum, and it's pretty cool because it's not just one tunnel, it's two tunnels stacked on top of each other. Now this one obviously is for bikes and pedestrians, but below me is a tunnel for cars.
The Alexia tunnel was built to replace a level railway crossing, and instead of demolishing people's homes to make room for an underpass wide enough to accommodate traffic, they got creative and decided to construct the country's first stacked tunnel.
And another really cool thing about this, you can really see this across the country. The Dutch take opportunities to lay down some art. And here, there's artworks on the walls of the bike tunnel, and it's composed of over 1 million holes.
1.75 million holes to be precise. Designed by Louise Hessel, it is meant to evoke the feeling of dappled light, filtering through trees, creating a calming and natural atmosphere for cyclists and pedestrians passing through. And conveniently, at one end, there was an Albert Heijn, and since it had been nearly 24 hours in the country without a Frikandel, absolute blasphemy, I figured the third time was the charm. This was the perfect fuel to get me the rest of the way to Utrecht.
Success. Anytime I think it's not windy, I just stop or go the other direction, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's really windy. I've just got lucky. It's mostly at my back or come from the side today. It's been great. All right, about to enter, that bird is loud, oh my God. About to enter the third province of the trip. Bit anticlimactic, but yeah, it happened.
While this is not a new province to me, I did say my goal was to see all other provinces. My actual main goal was to see new things. Some I have yet to see here, but those new things are for tomorrow. Tonight was to traverse something familiar.
I love this street. I think this was the first street with a grassy tram that I saw on my trip. No, that's not true, definitely not. But I believe this intersection up here is where I saw the flashing yellows at night for the traffic signals. Anyway, the place I'm staying is right nearby.
And this was it. A lovely little backyard cabin right on the Kromme Rhine.